come out peacefully with all the people.
Wednesday, March 3rd, but David Koresh breaks his bargain, and the bloody confrontation continues. We'll have a live report from Waco, Texas. Also, the confrontation between cable operators and TV stations. What will you pay to view your favorite shows? And the big show in Times Square. Muscle man Arnold Schwarzenegger becomes a real traffic stopper. Good afternoon, everyone. First today, the World Trade Center investigation, sifting through and sorting out the pieces. It's a tedious process. Investigators are pulling out cars from the rubble. They're digging for clues. They believe at least 2 vehicles were involved in the deadly explosion. These other developments today, the World Trade Center towers may remain closed at least a month while detectives gather material and crews continue cleanups and repairs. And coping with the tragedy, it's an uphill battle for victims and their families as they try to deal with the crisis. Our team coverage begins with the I-Team's Joe Collum, who's been closely following the investigation. And today he has information of dramatic new video evidence in the case. He is live once again at the scene. Joe?
Well, Sarah Lee, it has now been 5 days since a bomb blast rocked not only the World Trade Centers, but the city of New York. And as of today, as you can see behind me, the Twin Towers are still sealed off. This crime scene is swarming with federal and city investigators, and they may have hit pay dirt today as they brought up some dramatic new evidence. Federal agents pulled twisted bits of car parts from the underground garage this morning, mangled pieces of metal, as well as tailpipe sections and pieces of tire. Nobody would say whether this was part of the vehicle which carried the bomb into the Twin Towers parking lot. But it was evident if this was not part of the bomb vehicle, it must have been extremely close when the blast occurred. The damage was far greater than that incurred by other cars being pulled from the garage, which were crushed by the explosion. Have you ever seen anything like this?
I don't think anybody that's worked any of these investigations has seen anything like this in the United States.
Malcolm Brady is heading the federal investigation at the scene. He says this is the biggest explosion he or anybody else in this investigation has ever seen. What would you compare this to, this particular bombing to?
There's nothing to compare it to. There's not been one like it.
All right. This is a unique situation.
Yeah, well, you're in a unique building in a unique city with a unique bomb. So yes, it's a unique situation. I don't think anybody has seen an incident of this nature in a confined area such as it is, affecting as many people and as much of the commercial trade that goes on in this world.
As we reported yesterday, investigators believe the person or persons responsible for the bombing may have been killed in the blast. Today, Police Commissioner Raymond Kelly said there are new indications that may be the case. What is the indication that there is a body down there?
Well, the investigators tell us that there is a smell of the possible a body under the rubble. It's a position where, or general area where we're not able to get to at this juncture. So we'll have to wait till the weekend.
Investigators say they still have not identified the type of bomb which exploded here last Friday, nor do they have any solid suspects, although they are looking at a number of terrorist groups. Sarah Lee?
All right. We also heard reports that a tourist who is in the building, maybe in the B2 parking level nearby, may have actually done some amateur videotaping just moments after the blast. Have you heard anything about that video?
There has been talk about amateur video. Yesterday, the question came up at a police press conference, and investigators discounted the possibility that it would be of any value to them, sir.
All right. Thank you very much, Joe. The pregnant woman who was trapped in the World Trade Center on Friday spoke publicly today about her ordeal. Geraldine Hearn gave birth by cesarean section. Some of the people who helped her get out of the tower joined her at a hospital news conference this morning.
I would just like to thank everybody at St. Vincent's for all their help. They saved my life, and they saved the life of my child. And I'd like to thank the fire department and the police department for carrying me down all those flights of stairs in the dark. And I'm grateful to 100 people. I'd just like to say thank you to everybody.
We were not allowed to see the baby today. The baby weighs just under 2 pounds. The baby was born 2.5 months premature. Coping with tragedy is the next hurdle for victims of last Friday's World Trade Center disaster and their families. Brenda Blackman reports they lived through the horror. Now they must deal with the pain.
You're not safe. Come on, out of the building, please.
Watch out. Move over here. Move out of here.
He was there to help me through because I knew I was going to go.
The healing process is underway for Evelyn and Tudis Montevo. They both survived the World Trade Center tragedy, but coping with the horror is a day-to-day struggle.
There are several different categories of signs that occur in post-traumatic stress disorder that can occur in children and adults through flashbacks of the event, images or sounds or smells, for example, of the smoke or of hearing the explosion in one's mind.
Health experts say talking about your feelings can help relieve pain and grief.
Just being there for them, whatever they need, and then to help them through it day by day and step by step.
They have been a great help. Everybody have put in the chair. They have spoken to me about everything, being positive, getting out of here soon.
The more you talk about it, the more you know it happened and you're putting it more to the past. It's like you realize you're here.
Family members are also urged to talk about their feelings.
The waiting game and the worry game, the searching game, and now, of course, they want to know how he's going to be.
For the Montevos, it's apparent that talking it out is the first step on the road to recovery.
When he tells me I'm his hero, no, he's my hero, I tell him that.
The city has set up a crisis assistance hotline. The numbers to help victims and their families cope. The numbers are 1-800-527-7474, or you can call 1-212-566-5222.
The cost of the Twin Tower tragedy is mounting, and it could reach $1 billion before the towers reopen. That's the word from the city controller's office. It may be a month before the buildings are open again, and that means each day businesses are losing a lot of money. But state government is lending a helping hand by offering small businesses low-interest loans.
Primary criteria we use are how many jobs are going to be created in New York State as a result of our loans.
It's a matter of cash flow and making things a lot easier, giving us a lot more room to get by these troubled times, because I'm sure even once we open, we're going to have a problem doing business.
The New York State Urban Development Corporation is offering interest-free loans of up to $50,000. And some good has come out of the devastation. Food from the Vista Hotel is being donated to the homeless. 2.5 tons of eggs, cheese, and fruit left in the hotel were loaded onto city harvest trucks yesterday. The trucks link food with shelters and soup kitchens all over the city. Now we're going to Lloyd with the first check on our weather. Lloyd?
All right, Sarah Lee, thank you. Another gorgeous day in the metropolitan area, but all good things must come to an end. We're looking at a big one starting tomorrow. Let me show you the latest satellite picture. Check it out. There's a major storm in the southeast. The low down over southern Missouri, going to move northeast. Secondary low forming along the Carolina coast Friday night. It all equals a royal mess. Details later.
Thanks, Lloyd. Still ahead today, more of our continuing coverage of the World Trade Center disaster. Also, how the explosion forced muscle man Arnold Schwarzenegger to change his pumped-up image. Why Phil Rizzuto has been benched, and who's being brought in from the bullpen, and alternatives to nursing homes. Vital information in our senior report.
On the next Kung Fu, the legend continues.
An evil now here. Was not here before.
A series of murders in Chinatown.
There have been 3 of these deaths in the past 8 months.
Is leaving a trail of bodies.
It is called the death of 1,000 cuts.
And only Kane can stop the killing.
The method of death. It's a message, isn't it?
It's the biggest gamble of his life. On the next Kung Fu, the legend continues.
Tonight at 9 on Channel 9.
Do your bills arrive by the bag full? If you're a homeowner, call Statewide Capital at 1-800-DIAL-CASH and consolidate them into one low-cost home equity loan. Even if you've been turned down at the bank, you can lower your monthly payments. The interest may be tax-deductible. Then pull just one bill out of the bag. Make just one low payment. For a better tomorrow, dial cash today.
For money, call 1-800-247-8500. There's absolutely no obligation. That's 1-800-247-8500 for free career information. Call now.
A New York City cop is recovering today from a gunshot wound to his hand. Officer Anthony Borges was treated and released from Bellevue Hospital this morning. Police say Borges was shot during a scuffle with a man he was trying to arrest in Brooklyn's Williamsburg section. Police say the suspect was spotted walking with a gun in his hand. He's a self-styled religious zealot who is armed to the teeth and willing to fight. Yesterday, he promised to surrender. But as Judy Fortin reports live from Waco, Texas, today the standoff continues. Judy?
That's right, Sarah Lee. The standoff has been going on for almost 100 hours now, and no sign that there's going to be any surrender of cult members. We can see the compound right behind me, still about 3 miles away or so. The media is definitely being kept back today if there are any developments. We've seen some activity around there this morning, but if it is of anything of significance, the FBI and other authorities have yet to tell the media. Day 4 of the standoff started with dozens of law enforcement vehicles streaming back toward the Mount Carmel compound to relieve hundreds of agents who kept watch over the situation during the night. At least on the outside, tensions remain high and nerves are frayed as the 400 or so federal, state, and local officials play a waiting game with the estimated 75 members of the Branch Davidians still believed to be inside the compound. Their leader, 33-year-old David Koresh, failed to make good on a promise to surrender yesterday afternoon after an area radio station played a 58-minute taped statement he had made. Between Sunday and yesterday, 18 children had been released. They range in age from infants to 11 years old and have since been placed in foster homes. 4 agents from the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms were killed during the initial raid on the building Sunday morning. Many are now criticizing that agency, saying they should have had better information about the heavily armed cult members. Reportedly, 10 to 15 of Koresh's followers died during the 2 confrontations on Sunday, and possibly 40 are wounded, including Koresh himself, the self-proclaimed Messiah. Now, federal agents are stressing again today that they have no time frame in which to bring this situation to an end. In fact, they say they're prepared to wait a long time if they have to. Judy Fortin reporting live in Waco, Texas. Sarah Lee, back to you.
Judy, is there any indication why, in fact, David Koresh did not give up after the radio stations did what he asked?
We haven't heard from him. We haven't even heard from FBI agents. They were scheduled to hold some sort of a briefing this morning around 8:30 local time. That never happened. We're now told that possibly in about 40 minutes, we may have some sort of briefing from FBI agents. Maybe if that meeting does happen, we'll learn what happened and why there was no surrender yesterday. Sarah Lee?
All right. Thank you very much, Judy. Well, thanks to several Republican defections, it appears the GOP will come up short. Right now, Republicans don't have the votes to override Governor Florio's veto of a bill to lift the ban on assault weapons. Florio went on the offensive yesterday against lawmakers who want to shoot down the ban.
These weapons should be taken out of circulation, and that's what the law did. And now, as was stated, there's an effort to undo that law.
Florio is keeping up his anti-assault weapon campaign today. He's discussing the issue with clergy members in East Brunswick. The jury is expected to begin deliberating later today in the Glen Ridge sexual assault case. 4 men are on trial for allegedly attacking a mildly retarded girl. The trial is in its 21st week. Well, when the Trade Center bomb knocked TV transmitters out, local TV stations relied on cable. But when the smoke cleared, the old cable broadcasting rivalry was back. And Chuck Gomez reports the stakes are higher than ever.
And now, off as the field is getting off to a fine start. Cable industry and local broadcaster leading the field. They're running neck and neck with consumer, trailing just behind in congressional legislation in the back of the field.
They're off indeed, cable system operators and local broadcasters jockeying for position in the wake of the new cable law. Neither side too willing to give up the inside track.
Some of the broadcasters are rattling big figures and indicating that they're going to ask for big numbers.
We make up a sizable part of the viewing that takes place even in cable homes. And we think that we're entitled for some compensation for providing that service to the cable operator.
We cannot bring you live video from the scene at the moment because our transmission capabilities have been shot.
The battle lines are drawn at a time when the importance of cable was never clearer. All but one local station in the metropolitan area reported critical news about Friday's World Trade Center explosion via cable systems, when the stations lost the ability to broadcast their own signals. Power to transmitters was shut off by emergency crews, so cable became a lifeline.
The station has been knocked off the air in the New York, New Jersey area. We're coming to you via CNN and via cable systems throughout.
Nevertheless, cable systems are on the offensive. When Cablevision of Connecticut announced it was dropping a few Hartford stations, which duplicated programming, the ensuing public uproar caused the company to reverse itself.
Cable industry has dropped back by a nose, but it's too early to tell if local broadcaster can pull ahead.
We responded to our subscribers. We are not an insensitive company.
And now the race is really revving up. Local broadcaster coming on fast. Cable industry breathing down broadcaster's neck. Consumer trying to catch up. It's a horse race, folks.
Horse race, you bet. Under the new cable law, broadcasters can either opt for a must-carry option, demanding cable systems retransmit their signals, or negotiate with the cable systems for fees. Fees cable companies aren't too thrilled about paying. That conflict has sparked the intense jockeying.
And now as they come around the turn, it's consumer pulling ahead as cable industry and local broadcaster drops back.
It's in the interest of both sides to work out something that keeps those broadcast signals on the cable system, keeps customers happy, and doesn't totally disrupt the charging mechanism between the cable operator and the consumer.
That so-called charging mechanism is already worrying subscribers who think the rates will go up no matter what happens.
I don't know anything the rates ever go down, and what's happening with cable, they're trying to get all they can get before everybody gets their own satellite and gets the whole world.
So who will win this cable derby?
And now consumer pulling ahead as cable industry and local broadcaster are dropping back.
The jockeying may all be for show. Negotiations aimed at keeping costs from being passed on to the consumer while making sure favorite programs don't go to hash.
Oh, what a race.
Chuck Gomez, Channel 9 News.
More flap over the St. Patrick's Day parade. Mayor Dinkins has marched before, but this year, like last, he'll reportedly stay away because a gay group is barred from participating. Governor Cuomo also says he won't march. Still ahead, Lloyd's weather forecast is another storm heading our way. Holy cow, the scooter is being benched. We'll tell you why, and we'll take you inside a new dance club that some people don't want you to be able to visit.
If you've been hurt in an accident, you need a lawyer. Our lawyers can help you get money. Money for your injuries and money for your pain and suffering. Call the Lawyers Group at 1-800-677-2020. Speak with a lawyer near you for free. Your lawyer gets paid only if you collect money. If you've been injured, call the Lawyers Group. Call toll-free 1-800-677-2020. We help injured people. Call 1-800-677-2020.
You know, it pays to compare. Pull out the last monthly statement from your full commission broker and make a note of your commission rates. While you're at it, take a look at all the extra charges. They add up. Now compare it to AccuTrade from First National Brokerage Services. You can buy or sell any stock for just 3 cents per share commission, regardless of the price of the stock. Any conditions? Just one. We'll charge you a minimum commission of $48 on each transaction. For instance, buy 3,000 shares of a $20 stock and pay a commission of $90, just 3 cents a share. Plus, with our AccuTrade system, you can enter orders and obtain quotes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, from virtually anywhere in the world with a simple touch-tone phone. Give us a call. It just makes sense to save money.
You only need a minimum of $5,000 equity to open and maintain your account, and the minimum charge is just $48. Call this 800 number today and connect with AccuTrade from First National Brokerage Services, America's deep discount broker, member SIPC.
No, I can't call you. Get up and call us now. 645-3300.
That guy from Apex is right. I'm tired of feeling like I have no control over my own life. No control over the kinds of jobs I take, the hours I work, or how much money I make. The time has come for me to take charge and do something about my life.
Call Apex Technical School, 212-645-3300.
The time is now.
Another strike against former New York Yankee shortstop Phil Rizzuto. He's been eligible for induction into the Baseball Hall of Fame since 1956. So far, no one has given him enough votes. Now he's being benched from a long-time TV ad.
Hi, Phil Rizzuto here for the Money Store. What most families want these days is less debt, not more.
You know those famous Money Store ads? Rizzuto's been doing them for 20 years. The 74-year-old, however, is being replaced by a younger pitchman, pitcher Jim Palmer from those underwear ads. However, you can still see Rizzuto on TV. On Yankee games, he is the voice behind the team. And the voice behind our weather, our own Lloyd Lindsay Young, say it's not so. I don't like the way the weather board looks over there.
Oh, we've got a real smorgasbord. We've got a mess developing for tomorrow and on into Friday. Could be some coastal flooding. Tell you all about it in a moment. Let's check our current conditions, see what's going on. We have a nice day now, almost as nice as yesterday. 46 degrees, 40% humidity, hardly any wind, and a rising barometer at 30.08. Happy to have you aboard today. Hello, Mama Junction. Happy birthday to Jared Cutler. He's 2 years young. Way to go, Jared. Congratulations on that. Your daddy told me you watch every day, so I guess your daddy watches too. All right, here's the satellite picture. We have a lot of moisture heading in our direction. We really do. We have a major storm developing down in southern Missouri. Now, first of all, you can see the front, a weak front has slid south of our area. That will usher in slightly colder air tonight. Meanwhile, the low will track up along the Atlantic coast tomorrow, depending on where you live. Now, if you're maybe 30, 40 miles north and west of the city, the S word comes back, a little less NOW, but along the coast, the big problem is going to be rain because northeast winds will be increasing, tides will be increasing tomorrow, and there should be at least some minor beach erosion and flooding. Could be worse. We're really not sure just how bad yet. Meanwhile, a secondary low will form off the Carolina coast, probably Friday afternoon and Friday night. This one could bring snow to the area, so it's we're going to be busy in the lab. Meanwhile, some heavy rain down in Alabama, Birmingham, better than 2 inches. 6 below in Gunnison, Colorado, the cold spot in the US of A. Lots of moisture. Heavy action, Georgia, down in the Florida. Snow showers breaking out in Illinois, mixed with rain. The whole thing sliding up to the northeast means tomorrow, gale warnings will be out. Flooding, a possibility. A little bit inland, a mixed bag. Further inland, snow. Oh, boy. All right, from the Channel 9 Weather Lab, here's the way it's shaping up. Partly sunny, continued mild with his orchestra and chorus today. A high of 48. Tonight, increasing clouds, no precipitation until morning, 30 to 35. Now, tomorrow, rain, very windy. Snow in the northern and western suburbs, possible coastal flooding, highs in the low 40s. Here's the all-important 5-day. A little bit of a lull Friday morning, but then Friday afternoon and Friday night, it's rain and snow, but probably all snow Friday night and Saturday morning with that secondary coastal low. Don't know how much yet. Saturday, snow in the morning, becoming partly cloudy in the afternoon, much colder. Sunday, and maybe even another one Monday. Sarah Lee will have a little more later. Talk to you then.
All right, thanks, Lloyd. In the News at Noon Health Beat this Wednesday afternoon, cholesterol tests. If you have the nerve to prick your own finger and draw a little blood, you won't have to go to the doctor anymore to find out your cholesterol level. The FDA has approved a home test kit. It's a first. A California company put it together. It's going to sell for $12 to $15, and that's about the same price as a home pregnancy test kit. Taxol, it's an experimental drug that's being used to treat recurring ovarian cancer. We've told you about its promise and about its controversy. Now researchers say Taxol shows promise in treating lung cancer too. It's also being tested now on breast cancer. In today's A+ for Kids report, the fate of a controversial school test will likely be decided today. New Jersey's Education Commissioner is going before the State Board of Education with a recommendation. Brenda Flanagan reports.
Concerned parents of Kearney students plan to circulate a petition against this controversial state reading test. Critics call it badly constructed and mistake-plagued, but New Jersey 8th graders who don't pass it will get put in remedial classes. Parents give the test an F.
If the test is wrong, it just shouldn't be given. It really should be removed.
We're worried that our kids are going to be put into remedial classes in high school.
Kids give the test an F.
Because in school, we take a practice test and all the answers were wrong on that too. I'm afraid of taking it.
Even the superintendent gives the test an F.
They're still having a lot of problems with it.
You think it's a good indicator of how well the kids are doing?
Not at all. Not at all. I don't think it indicates anything other than perhaps the state should not be in the testing business.
In fact, school administrators are still disturbed over last year's test, which got scored incorrectly, dumping 5,000 kids statewide into remedial courses they didn't have to take. Schools, even Kearney, will do what they're told to do.
And I have full confidence in the state that they certainly are not going to ask us to give the test if it is not valid. They'd be committing suicide the second time around.
But parents urged caution.
Get it right. You know there's a problem. Let's fix it. Don't just continue, okay, well, we'll slide on by and we'll let the kids take the test and then see what happens.
In Kearney, I'm Brenda Flanagan, Channel 9 News.
A sad day in the medical community. Albert Sabin, father of the oral polio vaccine, has died of congestive heart failure in Washington. He was 86. Sabin will always be remembered as the researcher who developed the vaccine that helped end the polio epidemic in this country back in the 50s. Still ahead, more on the Twin Towers explosion. Who's going to pay? Also, which terrorist groups are targets of the FBI investigation? And how the Trade Center terror forced muscle man Arnold Schwarzenegger to change his image.
Hello, welcome to SFC Television. I'm Stephanie Strange.
And I'm Jim Bone. The story we're following today is a brand new Disney World and Bahama Cruise combo. We'll be back after these brief messages.
SFC Television is being brought to you by Carnival Cruise Lines, who's got the fun ships, and South Florida Cruises, the industry leader in cruise value and expertise. When you plan your next vacation, make it a cruise and book it with South Florida Cruises.
Carnival Cruise Lines has put together a red-hot combo cruise with 3 or 4 days in the Bahamas and 3 full days at Walt Disney World. These include free airfare, a rental car, deluxe hotel, and admission tickets to Disney World.
Imagine Disney and Carnival together. SFC Television brings you the most up-to-date information about cruises worldwide. All cruises, all destinations, all the time.
You refuse to accept the fact that you have a drug or alcohol problem. You say you're not addicted, so you keep fighting the fact, and yet your world is falling apart. Your job, your family, your life. But you can fight, and you can win. So please, get help now. Call 1-800-442-7623. Let us help you fight the disease and win. Call National Recovery Institutes, 1-800-442-7623.
Accident victims, have you been the victim of someone else's negligence? If you have been involved in an accident, you may be entitled to significant monetary compensation. Siegel & Lax will guide you and protect your rights, giving personal attention to your case.
Call Siegel & Lax now at 212-922-0891, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you are unable to travel, we will come to you. For a free consultation, call Siegel & Lax at 212-922-0891. No fee unless successful.
The 5th victim of the World Trade Center tragedy was laid to rest today. Funeral services for Robert Kirkpatrick were held this morning in Suffern, New York. Funerals for the other 4 victims were held yesterday. 1 more person is still believed buried in the rubble. Well, those who survived the tragedy are looking for compensation. A lot of lawsuits are expected, but will the plaintiffs collect? The I-Team's Al White looks at who could be held liable.
Put this around. There was no communication.
With more than 1,000 injured, 5 dead, and 1 still missing 5 days later, the World Trade Center tragedy is a ready-made scene for litigation. Lawsuits.
Remember the helpless expression of horror on this man's face? His name is Keith Mills from Queens. This is how he looks today, just before his release from New York Downtown Hospital.
This guy said to me, that was with us, he says, Keith, I think this is it. And I said to him, I said, yeah, I think so too. And at that point, I said, well, I have to say a prayer for all of us.
Keith says he is a Port Authority employee with only 2 months on the job. He was eating his lunch and in a split second was fighting for his life. Keith says he was located on the B2 level in close proximity to where the bomb went off.
When you're that frightened, you will jump over ocean. No, I'm telling you. Yes, if you're that frightened. Well, I was so frightened that if I was injured as long as I could get up.
Keith says, fortunately, his fellow worker was able to radio their location, but both suffered prolonged smoke inhalation before help arrived.
Some fumes was coming from somewhere that prevented us from breathing also.
Keith was treated by Dr. John Ferry, Jr. at Downtown Hospital.
The majority of the patients that we've treated here were patients that had smoke inhalation as their primary injury. Like Mr. Mills, many of them also had relatively minor injuries to their muscles and their bones, but the primary injury was to the lungs and the windpipe.
Dr. Ferry says there could be long-term effects for smoke inhalation victims.
Anybody who has had a significant lung disease or pulmonary respiratory disease in the past is going to be in that category of people at risk for long-term problems.
Keith isn't saying whether or not he'll sue for his sufferings. He could be one of the hundreds of bomb victims who might sue the World Trade Center landlord, the Port Authority. Its executive director, Stanley Bresnow, says they have insurance.
Port Authority has $600 million in property insurance, $400 million in liability insurance.
Attorney Pam Leopakis of the largest plaintiff law firm in the city has taken the initial step toward a lawsuit. She is the first.
We filed a notice of claim on behalf of one of the individuals who was very seriously injured.
One area that might make the Port Authority vulnerable to lawsuits is the 1985 anti-terrorism report that allegedly warned the Port Authority its public parking area is vulnerable to terrorist action.
A judgment was made that a complex like the World Trade Center with hundreds of businesses and thousands of visitors, hotel, restaurants, shops, should not be without public parking, especially in light of the fact that so many other large public and private buildings have public parking.
Can I talk about the fact that they wouldn't spend $50,000 for a security system?
Mark Manis, partner of Harry Lipsick law firm that specializes in personal injuries, says dozens of victims have contacted his firm, but
at this point, our feeling is let the police do their work. Let the FBI do their job, then we'll do our job. At this point, we're in no rush, that's all. Well, just because someone is injured doesn't necessarily mean there's liability. Maybe there is, but there must be negligence. There must be a lack of reasonable care.
Al White for the Channel 9i team.
There's a lot of speculation today over who may be responsible for the Twin Towers bombing. Investigators aren't yet focusing on any one group. The I-Team's Matthew Schwartz has that part of the story.
As the investigation continues, anti-terrorism experts tell the I-Team, because there are so many potential suspects in the World Trade Center bombing, it's easier to say who is not responsible.
Good Tuesday morning, ladies and gentlemen. It is I, G. Gordon Liddy.
Watergate conspirator and terrorism expert turned radio personality G. Gordon Liddy says he'd be surprised if Libyans, like those who blew up Pan Am Flight 103, are connected to the Trade Center explosion.
The explosive of choice is a Semtex, which is a plastique. And this is, from everything we can tell, not that. They have a huge amount of Semtex, and that's what they would use.
I mean, there are groups that we would say obviously did not do anything, such as the IRA, that depends upon their goodwill in the New York City area as well as other places.
One expert on terrorism says that if you put together every foreign group that believes it has a grievance against the U.S., along with everyone else who could have been responsible for the bomb here, you'd have enough people to fill up Giant Stadium.
The big problem is that there are a lot more bombings in the last 10 years that are done not just for terrorism. You have some of these terrorist groups have to drop a bomb once in a while just to get paid.
So who might be responsible? Sources say authorities have investigated the Serbian connection. The Serbs could be angry over U.S. policies in the former Yugoslavia.
I would add to that the PLO and Hamas. These are the Palestinians, and they are, of course, unhappy with the United States' traditional alliance and support of Israel.
Iran, Iraq, the Serbs, they all have it in for us.
If the U.S. determines who is responsible, Liddy has his ideas about what should happen next.
Track them down no matter where they were in the world and put a bullet in their brain. That's how you take care of a terrorist. A good terrorist is a dead terrorist.
Experts say we shouldn't get too optimistic about the bombers being caught. At LaGuardia Airport in 1975, a bomb killed 11 people. The case
that all began to unfold within the last couple of days.